Her name was Alara, and at 78, her world had shrunk to the size of her small, quiet home. For a decade, since her husband Arthur passed away, her days had been a predictable, gentle rhythm of gardening, reading, and watching the world from her front window. The silence in her house was a constant companion, a soft blanket, woven with memories of a life fully lived. Her children, grown and with families of their own, lived miles away. Their calls were regular, their love a comforting warmth. But the physical distance meant Alara was mostly on her own. She wasn't unhappy, just settled. The vibrant colors of her life had softened into a peaceful, monochrome existence. Then came the knock. It wasn't the mailman, whose schedule she knew by heart, nor a delivery driver. This knock was hesitant, almost shy. Puzzled, Alara opened the door to find a young boy, maybe 7 or 8 years old, with wide, nervous eyes and a shock of bright red hair. He clutched a worn-out baseball in one hand. He introduced himself as Leo, her new next-door neighbor. He explained that his ball had accidentally flown over her fence and landed in her prized rose bushes. He was terribly sorry and asked if he could please get it back. Alara, surprised by the unexpected visitor, smiled and led him to the backyard. As Leo carefully retrieved his ball, he couldn't help but admire Ilara's garden. He pointed to the vibrant peonies and asked what they were called. This simple question opened a floodgate. Alara, whose gardening knowledge had long been a silent passion, found an eager audience in this small boy. She told him all about the peonies, the lavender, and the stubborn daisies that grew wherever they pleased. Leo listened, captivated. That single visit became a daily ritual. Every afternoon after school, Leo would appear at Alara's door, sometimes with a question about a plant, other times just to share a story from his day. He'd talk about his struggles with math, or a funny thing his dog did. Alara, in turn, started sharing her own stories. She told him about Arthur, about their travels, about the silly arguments they used to have over what to name their cat. Leo was a sponge, soaking it all in. He didn't see an old woman. He saw a friend with a treasure trove of incredible tales. One day, Leo arrived looking glum. He explained that his school was having a grandparents' day, but his own grandparents lived in another country and couldn't come. He was worried he'd be the only one without a special guest. Without a second thought, Alara found herself saying, "Well, would you like me to come with you?" Leo's face lit up with a brilliant smile that seemed to chase all the clouds from his face. "Really? You would do that?" he asked, his voice filled with hope. On Grandparents' Day, Alara put on her favorite lavender dress, the one Arthur always said made her eyes sparkle. She walked into the bustling school auditorium, holding Leo's hand tightly. When it was Leo's turn to introduce his guest, he stood up tall and announced proudly, "This is my best friend Alara. She knows everything about flowers, and she tells the best stories in the whole world." A wave of warmth washed over Alara, a feeling she hadn't experienced in years. The other children and their grandparents were captivated as Alara shared a short, funny story about trying to teach a parrot to sing. The room filled with laughter. After that day, something inside Alara shifted. The silence in her house no longer felt empty. It felt peaceful. A quiet interlude between Leo's visits. She started baking again, filling the air with the scent of cinnamon and sugar, always making sure to have cookies ready for her young friend. They started new projects together. They built a wobbly but charming birdhouse, painted it a cheerful yellow, and hung it from the old oak tree in her yard. They spent hours watching as sparrows and finches made it their home, creating a shared history with every chirp. Leo's parents, seeing the incredible bond between their son and the elderly woman next door, were deeply moved. They started inviting Alara over for dinner, including her in family barbecues and movie nights. Ilara's quiet home began to echo with the sounds of laughter and lively conversation once more. She was no longer just the widow next door. She was part of their family, an adopted grandmother. One sunny afternoon, as they sat on her porch swing shelling peas, Leo looked at Ilara with a serious expression. "Ilara," he said, "before I met you, my mom said we should be quiet and not bother the old lady next door." Ilara chuckled softly. "And what do you think now?" she asked. Leo leaned his head on her shoulder. "I think she was wrong. You're not an old lady. You're just you. And you're the best friend I've ever had." Ilara's eyes welled with tears, but they were tears of pure joy. That one hesitant knock on the door hadn't just interrupted her quiet life. It had restarted it. It had brought back the vibrant colors, the laughter, the purpose. She had thought her story was winding down, that the final chapters were already written. But a little boy with a lost baseball had shown her that there was always room for a new beginning, a new friendship, a new chapter, waiting to be filled with life. She learned that family isn't always about blood. Sometimes it's about the people who knock on your door and bring the world back in. And in her heart, she knew Arthur would be smiling down, so happy to see her home filled with love and laughter once again.